So in my previous video, I asked the question, could Drake save hip hop with his new album, Iceman? And unfortunately, I'm going to have to say no. Now, before we get into the deep review of this album, the thing I find interesting the most about Iceman is that Drake tries to paint himself as the villain, but he comes off as a victim. Now, there are a couple of good songs on this album. Like, I'm not mad at some of the attempts and what he tries to do on this album. But for me, it really comes down to what are you trying to convey? What message are you trying to tell your fans? What message are you trying to tell your enemies? What are you trying to tell the world through your music? I think that's one of the most important factors when it comes to making music or making art in general is what's the message behind it, right? And I think with Drake's rollout for Iceman this entire time, it has been this tone of revenge, this tone of vengeance, this tone of I'm gonna get my clap back. This entire rollout that he's been doing for almost a year, over a year now, has been around these themes of like, I know secrets about you and I'm gonna expose you for who you are. He's talking about Kendrick and all his variety of different enemies. And when we finally got the Iceman album, it felt more like he was trying to convince his fans, us or whoever, why he was the victim in the previous battle with Kendrick and all everybody else. Because he takes multiple shots at multiple people. We're talking A$AP Rocky, Rick Ross, Jay-Z, Kendrick, obviously, DJ Khaled. And throughout this album, as I'm listening to it, I feel like I just keep thinking like, man, this guy really wants to play himself as a victim. Now, this is like one of the most successful artists of all time. And it's very likely that between the 3 albums that he released, he might do 1 million next week. And we might do a review for the other 2 albums, Maid of Honor and Habiti, whatever it's called. I've checked them both out and I actually have thoughts about them. But I really want to focus on Iceman in this video just because this is what he's been telling us to focus on. The other 2 albums, whether they're contractually obligated or whatever, there's some good stuff on both of those projects, but they also have a lot of flaws, and I think that they deserve their own video. So we're focusing mostly on Iceman here. And the thing about Iceman that I think comes off wrong to me is the tone. The tone has this very dark vibe to it. The production's very dark. His bars are very like kind of sinister, and he has this whole I'm gonna get you vibe, especially on songs like Plot Twist and a couple other tracks where he just feels like he is literally just like trying to get his clap back. Now keep in mind, this is 2 years after the beef between him and Kendrick. So he's had plenty of time to sit down and like kind of think about how he wanted to approach this, like what he really wanted to say. And I think that's what makes this kind of the most disappointing is the fact that after 2 years, we're pretty much just getting Drake victimizing himself. And I don't want to sit here and like bash on the man because I think there's a lot for Drake to really process here in terms of like, one, trying to maintain his status as one of the most successful artists of all time in the wake of him being called a PDF at the Super Bowl, et cetera, so forth. Now, I've been debating with people about this exact topic because people are like, well, how can people support Drake when he was called a PDF at the Super Bowl and all these things came out about him? The thing about it is that all the stuff that was said about him was unsubstantiated. Sure, we have him on stage with the 17-year-old girl, but that's kind of a show. There's no like actual evidence that he was doing the things that Kendrick claimed, nor is there any evidence that Kendrick was doing the things that Drake claimed. And I think this is something that people get messed up about hip hop, is that hip hop rappers, we be lying, dog. Especially in rap battles, especially when it comes to like trying to diss somebody and trying to defame them as much as possible. We will pull out fibs and lies for the sole purpose of getting the attention, getting the views, getting the click. Like hip hop is the only genre in music where this is not only accepted, it's encouraged. If you don't believe me, go watch any rap battle. That's what they do. And a lot of it too is like, if you do manage to say something that's true in a rap battle, it hits that much harder. But typically speaking, like a lot of the things that people say is just simply not true. And so this is something that Drake has to deal with, right? Is the fact that a lot of the people who consume the Kendrick and Drake beef basically took the takeaway from it was that, oh, Drake is a PDF, Kendrick is a wife beater, and that's it, right? And so I'm never gonna listen to Drake again because he got accused of being a PDF. I'm never gonna mess with Kendrick because he got accused of beating his wife, right? But none of these things end up being true. And so it's interesting to see Drake trying to navigate this because it seems like he really is trying to like point that out, like, oh, it wasn't true, it was all fabricated, et cetera, so forth. And he spends a lot of time on his album, like talking about these topics, like talking about how people wronged him and like how he feels, and it comes off as a little corny, to be honest. But for an album called Iceman, he definitely seems to come off with this tone of like, I'm this cold man and you've hurt me so much and I'm now just gonna be dark and cold now. And it's like, okay, but then you drop two other albums that like almost contradict that energy. Like the other two albums, Made of Honor is a straight up sequel to Honestly Nevermind, which honestly has a few bangers on there, but it shows like his hit making skills. And then Habiti is just like a R&B album. And it's like, these are the things that people were basically kind of criticizing you about that you tried to address on your first album, Iceman, and then you go back and you flip it. And so it's pretty odd to me. But anyways, let's get into the actual songs here because I've been talking about like the setup of this album. But I think what's interesting about this album in general is how he decided to use certain people. For example, Future's on this album. And if you know the beef between him and Kendrick, you know, Future was kind of the one who set the whole thing off. At least increased it in terms of him and Metro Boomin making these two whole diss albums about Drake. Let's not forget the Like That song, which was Future's song that featured Kendrick Lamar. And, you know, he was in the crossfire between Drake and Kendrick as shots were being traded. And so on the song called Ran to Atlanta, which, you know, is another reference to Kendrick Lamar's song, it feels like Drake is trying to prove a point here, right? That he's like, oh, well, I can still get Future on the track and I can get the hottest rapper, Molly Santana, who, on this track, I could show that I still have Atlanta's juice. But to me, this track in particular is extremely disappointing. And it kind of shows how untapped Drake is because, okay, cool, you got Future on this track. But the thing about Future is that, one, he's damn near 40. Right. And yeah, he might be the king of Atlanta, et cetera, so forth. And when Drake and Future link up, et cetera, so forth. But he's kind of past the point where his Atlanta influence really carries weight. Not saying that Future doesn't have weight in Atlanta, but he's like on the top tier status with like T.I. and other rappers who are just going to go do great things. And you have the next generation of rappers coming up. Molly Santana, sure. But I really think that Ran to Atlanta in particular should have had JID on it. Should have had Jid on it. Because Jid right now probably is the dopest coming out of ATL right now. And I think that when it comes to trying to show that that you're tapped into the city, then you should have got the hottest nigga out. And that's going to be Jid right now. Like, and then putting Jid on Ran to Atlanta would have done wonders for his credibility in terms of like being tapped into hip hop. If he got someone like Jid on there, putting Future and Molly Santana on that track shows that he's like, okay, well, I can just pick names and pick choose, but it doesn't show that I'm tapped in, right? But I also think he wouldn't put someone like Jid on the track because Jid would completely out-rap him, right? And he's not going to try and get out-rapped. You could say that Drake has the better verse on Ran to Atlanta with Future, but it's like, okay, you guys are both kind of like phoning this in. And so there's a couple of moments like this on the album. Also on Bees on the Table, featuring 21 Savage, who only says the words Bees on the Table, Bees on the Table on the chorus. That's his only appearance of the song. Has the same kind of vibe where it's like, well, I gotta prove that I'm still tapped in, so I'm gonna get someone like 21 Savage, who's about to have a baby with Lotto right now. Like, he got his own world. He's like on that level of status where like his influence goes beyond Atlanta, right? He's not tapped into Atlanta in the mix, like networking with the rappers and doing shaking hands and kissing babies. He's on a different platform, right? And so to me, it comes off as if though Drake is not tapped in as he thinks he is by getting these features on here. But I feel like when it comes to Iceman in general, there is a tone that just feels off. But with that said, there is a cohesiveness to it, and there is a theme, And there is a story being told here, which, you know, me being a storyteller, I always greatly appreciate. But some of the songs on this album throw that tone off completely. Like, even though it's a good song, Janice, Shut the Fuck Up, STFU, great song, but breaks the aesthetic of Iceman. Little Birdie is another example of a song that, solid song, but it breaks the aesthetic of Iceman. To where, oh, I'm this tough guy, look how tough I am. And then I have a song where I'm singing like this. And it's like, nah, Iceman should have been the straight up raps, straight up bars. Now, as far as the bars themselves, there's a meme going around. I actually posted this on my Facebook and a bunch of people started liking and laughing at it. But it said that Iceman sounds like Drake wrote the album himself. And when I saw that for the first time, I was like, huh. Because I think, I'm not 100% sure on this. Let me actually check this in real time real quick. I believe that 40 was not involved in Iceman because he's dealing with his own things right now and like his health issues, et cetera, so forth. In fact, 40 really hasn't been involved on Drake's albums in a pretty long time. Like, he doesn't oversee Drake's projects anymore like he used to with his previous projects. I want to say this stopped around Scorpion is when 40 stopped being involved because he just got too sick. But even as I look at the credits of the album, 40 is not labeled as an executive producer on this album. Now, he might be as, like, you know, spiritual guidance, but this is something that I think Iceman exposes the most about Drake. And that's the fact that Drake works best with a team because Drake is a pop star at the end of the day. Drake is a pop star who raps. This is something that a lot of Drake fans can't come to terms with because they're like, well, Drake's the greatest rapper of all time. And it's like, he has probably one of the greatest teams of all time. He can get together the best writers. He can get together the best producers. He can get together the best engineers. He can get together a team that can make memes for him and keep him hot and relevant. Like, he has a whole engine, and Drake might have one of the strongest, if not the best engine in hip hop. But as an individual artist, like as a person who's in the room with a pen and a beat, mid, skip, I have to say, I wanted to quote that on purpose because I think when Drake says that on whatever song that is, it really kind of summed up the album for me because it was like, I don't know, like I like everything that Drake did with the rollout for Iceman, which was really what held my attention, from the live streams to the block of ice in the middle of the city to him driving the truck around. It was actually a pretty well thought out rollout, and I really appreciate that. And I think that's what kind of held my attention when I went into this album, was like, okay, what story is he trying to tell, right? But the execution came off as like, that didn't line up. It just didn't line up. Like, the music that you're saying, the things that you're rapping about and the way that you're saying them don't match the aesthetic that you're trying to achieve on this album. It does to a bit, but like there's a lot of places where the mark is missed. And so going back to his pen, it feels like Drake really wanted to prove himself to people, because I think that's something that Drake has a big red mark on, is that like, oh, Drake is great, but he has ghostwriters, right? That has been something that has plagued his career for the longest time. And I think that even when I look at the track listing and the writers, I'm on Wikipedia right now, a lot of the writing credits are missing. There are no writing credits. As of the time of recording this video, there are no writing credits on the track listing for the album. And it says here that all tracks are principally written by Aubrey Graham. Full credits are not available at this time, but production credits have been added. And so I think Drake's head, he really, 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 really wants to be considered a dope lyricist with a dope pen, and to be put in the category as the Eminems and the Jay-Z's and the Lil Waynes. Drake's pen has always been decent. I think Drake has a great hook game. I think that Drake has cool punchlines. I think that Drake has the cohesive ability to tell interesting stories. But the thing about it is that he's always kind of been an artist by committee. Kanye is very similar. Kanye is an artist who is also an artist by committee, meaning that he might write his own shit. Like he might pen something real quick, but then he's going to show that to everybody in the studio. He's going to show that to his homies. He's going to show it to his engineer. He's going to show it to his producer, and they're going to provide feedback and maybe even tweak the bars, or maybe even get someone else to like help that song build to make that song flesh out. And that's a lot different than a lot of other artists who, I'm just going to write this, go into the booth and lay it down, right? Because Drake is a pop artist. That's what pop artists do. They create by committee. And so on this album, it feels like Drake was like, well, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to prove that I can pen this whole album. And it comes off as kind of corny. Famously, right now, you're seeing the meme go around saying that there's a 50% chance that Drake's going to say rhyme Iceman with Nice Man. And he did that. And then he also had a couple of other corny bars that just don't hit the same as you think they would have if someone else kind of like listened to them before they came out, which is why I do think that Drake probably penned most of this album by himself. It feels like he penned it by himself without any type of like committee, because if you look at his previous works, particularly Scorpion before, everything before Scorpion, there was a polish to it that gave it this certain shine that was very clear that this was written by multiple people. I think about Headlines, for example. Like Headlines, he did not write the chorus for Headlines. He outsourced that from somebody else. He got someone else to help with the beat. He got 40 in there to oversee it, to make sure it sounded good. And they sat down and they tweaked all these bars. And that's one of his biggest hits. Same with Hotline Bling, right? Same with all these other songs where he needs to have a team behind him. And what's interesting about this theme of him being like this isolated villain in Toronto is that he's cut off all his sources. He's cut off all his fellow collaborators, all the fellow people that he's worked with. And it kind of shows on this album a little bit. Now, obviously, Drake still has his team. He still has all his little squad, his OVO squad, et cetera, so forth. But to be honest, most of them are probably yes men. That's just being real about it. Most of the people that are on Drake's team right now are probably yes men who aren't going to be like, no, Drake, this is trash. Or no, Drake, we need to tweak this. Like, there's no one on his team who's going to tell him that, especially if they're on the payroll, right? Now, this is all speculation. I don't even know what the hell Drake is doing in Toronto with his team. I just know that this album is very telling of where he's at as a person right now. And it seems like he's in this dark, isolated place. This place where he feels like he is public enemy number one. And he feels like he has to really fight his way back to a certain level of prominency. We also need to talk about this song, Too Hard for the Radio, which I think this song kind of really is the issues that I have most with Drake when it comes down to him being considered or called a culture vulture. This song in particular starts off with him basically reworking a Mac Dre verse over like an old school kind of beat. There's a meme going around right now where they actually took the Will Smith Fresh Prince of Bel-Air beat and placed it over him rapping that, and it fit perfectly, maybe even better than the version that he came up with. And this is the exact shit that Drake gets like heat for, is like he'll take people's flows, he'll take people's styles, he'll take people's cultures and integrate it into his own music. And a lot of people don't like that, man. They really don't. For me, it's like, it's interesting because I think that him being from Toronto kind of gives him a pass, because like I don't know what it's like to be in Toronto. I'm not from Toronto, never been there. But I feel like if you're Toronto and you're in hip hop, then you probably have a melting pot of influences coming your way, right? Because, you have the French Canadian aspect of it. You do have the American aspect of it. And so you have all these different cultures just kind of blending in. And I think Drake represents that in a weird way. I say weird way because sometimes I don't like it. And this song's kind of an example of that. Now, the second half of the song is even more egregious because it feels like what Drake's trying to do on this song is literally make his own version of Not Like Us. The beat is very similar. He also disses Mustard on this track. And there's even like some like wop, wop, wop kind of action going on. And it just comes off like really weird. The song is called Too Hard for the Radio, but I feel like this song was designed to be played on the radio. And it's almost like Drake trying to be like, ha, see, I can make my own version of Not Like Us too. Isn't this cool? I can rap over this beat too. I can get some West Coast kind of flavor going on. And it just comes off as a little lame. Like, I think that might be like the most egregious song on the album. And it might be the song that like kind of like where I was like, that's kind of like where I checked out a little bit. Because once, especially when I watched it live on the live stream and I watched this video of him in the tower in Toronto, and he's like trying to be all tough, like rapping over the same beat that's basically like Not Like Us, but it's like a polished version of Not Like Us. It's not as grimy as Not Like Us, but it's like the same beat. And it's weird, man. It comes off a little weird for me. I might be wrong about that. I mean, tap in and let me know if you think that I'm wrong. I don't know. But I also want to talk about the song Burning Bridges. Because of Burning Bridges, there's something on the song that he says that like really just bothers me. He has the line, you getting bodied by a singing nigga. Your baby mama didn't even post a single. And I think he's referring to, and I guess he could be talking about A$AP Rocky and Rihanna, or he could be talking about Kendrick and Whitney. But it's such a weird bar when you look at Drake's dynamic with his baby mama, right? Like he never talks about Sophia. We never see pictures of him and Sophia. We never see Sophia posting stuff about Drake. Like I don't think Drake's baby mama posted his single. I don't think Drake's baby mama posted Iceman. Matter of fact, let's go look at her page right now and see if she did post anything from Drake's page. Okay, so we're on Drake's baby mama's page right now, Sophia. And when I look at here, I don't see any posts related to Iceman on here. She ain't got no stories posting Iceman. So the bar just struck me as weird. Because it's like, why are you bringing the baby mamas into this when you clearly don't have any type of public relationship with yours, right? You got your kid driving a police car, looking all cool with his best friend and Shane McGillis in the backseat, but we've never seen the baby mama. So for him to say that line, it just struck me as weird because it's like, you really gonna expose that side of you, huh? You're gonna bring the baby mamas because and Rihanna did post a single. That's the thing. Is like Rihanna was pushing for A$AP Rocky's music that whole week. She was all over social media talking about A$AP Rocky's music. Now, as far as Whitney and Kendrick, not so much. Whatever. So maybe he was talking about Whitney, but Rihanna was definitely posted A$AP Rocky's music, and Drake's baby mama hasn't even shared Iceman. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. Well, no, I don't know. Anyways. As I'm looking at this track list, I do see that 40 has one production credit, and that's on Little Birdie, which is a song that I feel like doesn't necessarily fit the whole theme, but interesting enough, he does have that one production credit on here. But I mean, overall, like there's a couple of bangers on here. I like the beat for National Treasure. I like Make Them Pay. I like Shebang. Like these are songs that are solid, but I think with the level of pressure and the scrutiny and the hype going on behind this album, I think that Drake just falls short. I think this album comes off as a little bloated. It comes off as a little whiny. It comes off as a way of like trying to justify his position in hip hop when it's like, dude, you're literally the most successful artist to do it in hip hop ever. But you still have to like be like, well, I mean, I'm about to do this. And then when you throw in the other two albums and the fact that he tried to allegedly get out of his record deal, it just comes off as a little just, these leaves a little bad taste in my mouth because it's like, you like to hope that rappers, just particularly rappers like Drake, care about the raps and the hip hop and the core of it. And I think Drake still does. And I think this kind of shows on the album. But I think at the same time, even as I'm talking this out in real time, I think that there is something to be said about using art as a vessel to really let it all out, right? He was able to get it all out. It's all out on the table. I don't think that anybody's going to respond to him. Like, I don't think we're going to get a Kendrick clap back. I don't think A$AP Rocky's responding to him. I don't think any of these artists are going to respond to him because I think that that's what Drake wants. I think that Drake wants everybody to respond to him and so he can reignite this beef and like get another shot at Kendrick and do this and that. But what I think is going to happen is that everybody's going to ignore him. And that's going to hurt him. That's going to hurt him psychologically because Drake is Drake. He's one of the biggest artists of all time. And when he drops, the world stops. The world stopped for a little bit last week. When he dropped this last Friday, there was a little bit of stoppage. We listened. We're like, cool, that's how he feels. And then we moved on. Because a lot of it, and I think this is the biggest takeaway from this, is that he spent too much time victimizing himself on this album and not enough time giving us the massive hit singles that he's known for, like the massive hit singles. We got nothing on that level on this album, especially compared to previous albums where we always got at least one, right? I couldn't tell you what the massive hit single is on this album. And when I say massive, I'm talking about the song that's going to go 8 times platinum, 9 times platinum, 10 times platinum. That's not on this album. There's no massive hit single on this song, on this album at all whatsoever. And I think that's why Drake gave us Maid of Honor, which I think we are going to make a video about this maybe even tomorrow, maybe later tonight. But Maid of Honor's got some hits on there. There's some hits on there that are like, oh, these are worldwide hits. Passion fruit type level type songs. There's none of that on this album. And I think like this is like really, this proves like the dichotomy that Drake deals with, where he's like, a lot of the people who listen to my music don't even know or care about the beef with him and Kendrick. They don't listen to the songs. They might have heard something, but they just want this shit that makes them dance and wave their hands in the club, right? And so I think Drake was like, okay, well, I really want to address these things on Iceman. I really want to talk about this. So I'm gonna make a whole album that's kind of like talking about this, and I'm gonna rap, and I'm gonna keep it dark and like sinister, and I'm gonna be like, But then I'm gonna drop a full ass pop album, and then I'm gonna drop a full ass R&B album because my fans really need that. Fans really need that. And honestly, I'm not mad at this because it's Drake, but I think the strategy releasing them all at once really broke the energy around Iceman. Like, he should have just dropped Iceman as a solo album without the other two albums. Let that shit cook for a little bit. Let people digest it. Let people absorb it. A month later, give us the next album, and then a month later. He could have dominated the whole summer, spread things out, give time to breathe. But when you do Iceman and then you drop the other two albums that are like the exact opposite of Iceman, it breaks the immersion of Iceman. And I think that's the biggest thing that I get from this album. But I could sit here and rant about this all day. All in all, I give this album probably like a 6 out of 10. I really don't do numbers a lot, but people appreciate them. 6 out of 10. I think there's moments on here that are like, oh, but they're fleeting. And there could be a lot more to take away from it if Drake didn't spend most of the time kind of complaining and bitching. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Tap in. Did you like Iceman? What is your favorite song? We'll probably be back again with another video reviewing Maid of Honor, and then probably another video for Habiti. And we might do these back to back. So if you're watching this right now today, because I'm posting this immediately, then you'll probably get the video for Maid of Honor tomorrow, and then Habiti the day after. Maybe. I might drop them all tonight. We'll see how I feel. But I appreciate you liking and subscribing. So if you want to watch those videos, make sure you do that. And we'll see you soon. Peace.